So we've bought an e-transporter. This is the new T7 or new Transporter T7, whatever you want to call it, but it's the e-Transporter version. Now, I absolutely didn't want to buy one of these. I had no reason to. We already have two of the T7s. We have the blue one, that's the 4Motion DSG, and we have the commercial spec automatic one, and we also have a new Transit. So all the development we thought we needed to do would be on those three. And when we started looking into it, we discovered that these are actually quite different underneath. So we were forced to buy one. Mainly things like suspension. The suspension on this is very different. These are full electric, but they're a rear motor and the battery is in the center. They're rear wheel drive, so it means that the suspension needs to be rated completely differently. It just changes the dynamic when you put, so some suspension companies are selling springs for the original one, they say fit on these, and they fit, but they're not rated right, so it makes the vehicle skippy and not comfortable to drive. So we wanted to do it right, so we wanted to develop suspension that's ideally suited for the e-Transporter, amongst a bunch of other things. The bumper that we're working on, so we're doing a GTT style bumper for this, and obviously you've got the electric point on this and also on the FEV. So we needed one for that, so when we do the styling we can make sure that the bumper's compatible amongst lots of other things. So the decision was made for us to buy an e-Transporter. So let me just tell you a little bit more about the spec. So you can see from the number plate, Solo EV, jumped on that plate as soon as I saw that we were getting one of these. It's obviously not low at the minute, but we have some development lowering springs on it. So this is one of the highest specs, so it's got lots of nice extras like heated seats, heated steering wheel, it's got 360 cameras and a bunch of other stuff which we didn't have on our blue Transporter, which was the spec down from this one. So as soon as it came in, a few things we did is we added a bit of styling. So we put a lower splitter on there, we added our side repeaters, we put a set of Navis wheels on it, we put some side skirts on it and also a rear splitter just to make it look a little bit prettier, and we also added the first set of lowering springs. So initially this has an IBAC EV dedicated lowering spring, but it sits slightly higher than we would like. Generally a lot of our suspension is based on the IBAC standard like catalogue product, and then when we make a lower product for it. So this has got the original set on it, sits slightly higher. These are available on our website now for the EV, but we're developing a lower kit, so it'll be more like the front and a little bit lower all the way round, but it'll be a dedicated kit for the EV. So as part of the development for these vehicles, we put these springs on and we drive them to decide whether we like the spring rate, whether they want making softer or harder. We load weight in the back to see how they're replicated when they become a full camper, or whether they're a combi, or whether you just use them as a panel van and chucking your bikes in the back. So I've been doing some miles in this. 2 weekends ago I drove it to Cannock Chase and back with my mountain bike in it, which is just over 100-mile round trip, and as I was driving it I just started to fall in love with it, and I just thought it'd be worth just doing a video to try and help you understand the difference between these, the standard one and the electric version, and to see if this could possibly suit you if you're looking at changing your Transporter. So now I'm going to jump in it, we'll take it for a spin, and I'll explain some things I love about this, the things that concern me a little bit, and just talk a little bit about price and the difference between this and the diesel version. So internally they're exactly the same as the combustion engine version, so it still has the start button, but obviously there's no audible sound of the engine starting as you would get with the diesel one, but everything else about it is exactly the same. This one is actually slightly higher spec than our diesel one, so it has some nicer other features that we don't get on the other ones, like heated seat and heated steering wheel, but other than that it's very similar. The display and everything you get is the same. Instead of getting how much fuel you've got left, it gives you miles in range based on how much electricity you've got in the battery. But drive wise, first thing I noticed when I drove this for the very first time is actually how quick it is. And I'm not talking Tesla Model 3 quick, I'm not talking other electric vehicle quick, but for an electric or for a commercial vehicle certainly it's rapid. The other thing with it is it's rear wheel drive. Now we've put 20-inch Navis wheels on this now, which are wider than the standard wheels, but I noticed originally with the standard stock wheels that actually if you put your foot down going around a corner you could get the back end to skip out. I'm not saying that's a good thing, and the roads were a bit damp at the time and there was no weight in the back. That's another thing worth saying. With the wider wheels you don't seem to get that, but it's quick, and it's quick in a nice way. The other thing with it is the regenerative braking on it is actually really high. So various different electric vehicles I've driven, like the Taycan doesn't have very much of it at all. The ID Buzz had quite a lot, but what they call almost 1 foot driving. So as you take your foot off the accelerator, the regenerative braking means it slows down a lot quicker than if you were just rolling in a standard ICE vehicle. But drive wise, obviously another big thing about it is it's silent. Like you have no sound of the engine, which is really pleasant. You're doing a long run, I was doing the M6 Toll, listening to the music, and you just don't have that kind of droning of the diesel engine. Although having said that, the T7 is a lot quieter, the engine is a lot quieter on that, the diesel version, than it was the previous ones, the T6.1 right the way through to the T5. That's actually down to the wet belt, but I won't draw that up too much because people love to use that as an excuse not to buy them. This EV version though could be the answer for those people people that hate the wet belt. It's the real sticking block that people bring up with a T7 is that they've used that Ford engine. But as I said, drive-wise, really good. The pickup on it is nice. It's not too quick, but it's so much quicker than any other commercial vehicle I've driven, certainly any combustion engine one anyway. It's smooth. The suspension that we put on this has definitely helped. It was quite wallowy with the original suspension. One thing they don't have, which I think they definitely need, is a rear anti-roll bar. There's quite a mix over the Ford and the Volkswagen to which vehicles come with a front and rear anti-roll bar. They all have a front anti-roll bar. The only vehicle we've seen currently is the real high-spec Ford Tornio that had a rear anti-roll bar as well, and they need them. The electric vehicle needs it more than any of them. Now that is something we are currently working on, and an upgraded anti-roll bar will be available for this as well as the diesel version and the fed version as well. It definitely needs it, but it's something we're working on. After driving this, I mean, this has got close to 600 miles an hour, of which I've done most of it, and I've ended up kind of doing that by choice, because when I first drove this and realised how much I liked it, it's kind of the vehicle I just jump in. The two big factors I think people are going to talk about is price. Actually, you can get a really good deal on these at the moment. I mean, I don't know exactly the figures on ours, but we got a good discount on Volkswagen, and also the government are giving a £5,000 grant on these. That's £5,000 before the VAT, so technically more if you were to take the VAT into consideration. So they actually work out really competitive when you compare them to the diesel version. You also have the 5+ promise that Volkswagen offer on all of their vehicles, so your 5-year warranty, 5-year breakdown, 5-year roadside cover, 5-year servicing, not that much of these is, not there's much to service on these, and then your extra 2 years MOT that you would get after the standard 3 years that brand new vehicle has anyway. So peace of mind from a driving point of view. I'm definitely not saying that EVs are the future, but I'm saying they suit a lot of people's usage. I really like an EV. My daily vehicle is an EV, and that's partly because I live rurally. I live in the countryside in the middle of nowhere. Where I work is rurally in the middle of nowhere. I don't pass a petrol station at all on my route. I can charge my EVs at home and I can charge them at work. I like the way they drive. I like the way they pick up. My question was with these, or what I wanted to understand, is if these could be the future for your camper conversion. And the reason why that seems so appealing is if you have the range and you can get to a campsite and you plug into the campsite and you just trickle charging it, and you can set the system up in these so you've got a 240 plug socket in the rear and you're using that for your camper side of things, then they could potentially be utilize the electrical vehicle system or to power your electric equipment on the campsite. Nowadays, if I was to build a camper now, I wouldn't put gas in it. I would just have big battery storage like Clayton Powers, and I'd run induction hobs. Well, if this vehicle already has it built in, could that be the answer for the next camper van? The issue is always going to be range though. Now with this, the figures that Volkswagen give are like 200 plus, 200 to 250, I think, depending on your style of driving, which I think a lot of companies claim, and I don't think anybody really that I've seen gets close to that other than Tesla. I think the reality of this, in the short runs I've been doing, work, home, gym, you know, the short loop that I do, it says when I charge it to full, it says 170 miles. So for me, I would charge this at 6p a kilowatt. Well, if this vehicle has at home, if I charge it in the evening, 6p a kilowatt, this vehicle has a 63 kilowatt hour battery, I think. What, 6p times 63 kilowatts, and you're getting 170 miles for that. It's so much cheaper than a combustion engine vehicle, and then you've got the inconvenience of having to go and put diesel in your standard van. These are definitely a consideration, I would say, before you kind of poo-poo the idea of having an electric vehicle or just a put off by the new Transporter because of the Ford collaboration. Go and test drive one of these, go and give one a whirl, get some other opinions. I'm sure some other people have done reviews on these, and see what they think of them, because for me and my style of driving, this would be the Transporter I would go for. This, the EV, the e-Transporter would be the choice. I mean, I love everything else about the T7. I love the infotainment system. I like the way it handles. I like the controls. I like the way the display's laid out. I like the comfort, the seats, the handling. I know loads of people are anti it because it's built by Ford, but actually using one and driving one, it's a better vehicle than the old Transporter. Yes, it's not built in Hanover by Volkswagen, but what Volkswagen have done with Ford, in my opinion, and I'm going to do a lie detector test video to show you I mean it, it works, and it works really well. I'm just back at the yard now, and I thought I'd just do a bit of a spin round of the van. The rear is just standard, a couple of Rotiform wheels in there, and a few scratches from my bike, but plenty of space in the rear. The T7's actually quite a lot wider than the standard Transporter, which the conversion companies seem to be liking, and slightly longer than the new Transporter to give you that room that I think will make this short wheelbase more popular than the long wheelbase actually in the long run, I think, for the conversions, because you have that extra width anyway. One thing I would talk about now, because this one comes up a lot, is the breakaway camera. So the positioning here of the breakaway camera, the first time I saw this on a van at Hanover, I was like, what is going on there? Why is that so ugly? Well, I spoke to VW about it, and the reason why it's here and not in the centre is because it's programmed to be in the same place on a barn door and on a tailgate. So that space in there, if they put it here, it would be off the programming of the way the camera works. Now, the breakaway camera is actually brilliant. It's such a great tool. I'll talk about that more in a new video, but it's your rear view camera, and it's crystal clear. It's recording your front and your rear view while you're driving along. And you can switch it to a mirror while you're driving along as well, a standard mirror. So it's a really great tool, but yes, it looks dirty and ugly because it's off to one side. The good news is most people that have these vehicles are going to turn them into camper vans. And when they do that, there's going to be a window going in here. Well, the window version of this, you just change that camera and you put it on a bracket that goes on the back of the window, and the windows are always tinted anyway. So in a windowed vehicle, you'll still have this breakaway camera, but you won't see it because it's mounted to the back of the glass. Now, we're going to do our blue Transporter. That's going to have windows in it. So we'll show you how you simply change that over to mount it from the rear anyway. Other than that, very similar to the others. This is again a high spec one, so the rear lights are slightly different, where they have this coloured insert, which there's a Commerce and a Commerce Pro. This lower spec one doesn't have this insert. It actually has a slightly different light. What I do like about the Transporter over things like the Transit is just how well all the rest of it's hidden. The Transit has like your reverse camera and your number plate lights that are stick proud here, whereas in the Transporter it's hidden nicely behind this trim here, and then that camera there is for your reverse. So this is your breakaway camera, this is your rear view camera, and this is your reverse camera. I wouldn't be put off by ordering a breakaway camera if you think it looks ugly here, because if you're going to put a window in, you won't see it anyway, but it is such a nice tool. The breakaway camera works really, really well. So that's the first stage on this van for us. I didn't want to have to buy it, and I'm really glad we have bought it. One, because we need it for development reasons, but two, I've actually got to experience it and realize how good it is. And like I said, currently when I'm taking a van home, this is my go-to vehicle to go home in over the diesel one. There's so much more to come on this one. A lot of the things that you do see cross-compatible across the two, but certain things like suspension and things are very much bespoke and dedicated for the electric vehicles. And of course, we will also make an air suspension kit for these as well. People talk about damage and worried about catching the battery and stuff on anything EV. Well, a Transporter's high anyway. There is so much room under there. Even lowered, there's still enough room, so don't worry too much about that. Hope you've enjoyed this quick video on the e-Transporter. Just wanted to give you a very quick overview of our opinion of it and why we like it. And maybe if you're considering it, you found this video useful, but I would definitely recommend going down to your local Volkswagen dealer. I'm sure they will have one on demonstrator, so you can go and take one out for a drive. I'll be surprised if you're not as impressed. Like I said, I didn't really want to like it, but I couldn't help but drive it and was really, really impressed with it. If you've enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button. Please do share this video with anybody else that's thinking of changing their Transporter and they're put off by the diesel engine for the reasons that everybody talks about, and maybe an e-Transporter would suit them and their needs. And as always, thanks for watching.